Hi, I'm Tom Putnam, the director of Shafted. Thank you for renting it. The film was a real labor of love for everybody involved, and we know you'll have as much fun watching it as we had making it. Before the movie starts, I'd like
Hey everybody! Unless you're some damn fool that didn't read the video box before you rented it, you already know that this whole movie is about me, the blackest, badass, and the sexiest crime-fighting superhero of all time, John Shaft.
Hey, it's Rob Disner, and welcome to episode 2 of something that I'm calling Poor Man's Process. I really get past episode 1 of anything, so this might be a first. Anyway, you'll notice my cool threads and my 70s inspired Zoom background here. That's because today we're talking to Tom Putnam, who was the director of a movie that I mixed the sound for way back in 1998. The movie was called Shafted, and it was a spoof of a blaxploitation genre movie, and it's about an escaped mental patient who's a white guy who's convinced that he is a black superhero named John Shaft. You'll have to excuse my dog and cat who've decided they're gonna fight right now when I'm doing this. Anyway, we'll just go with it. So yeah, we're gonna see Tom Putnam today. He's directed a lot of really cool stuff since then, a lot of documentaries that have ended up on PBS. He's working on like 3 or 4 different things at the same time. And I think this is perfect what's going on here with the dog and the cat and the 70s threads. This is all just kind of fitting into what we're going to see when we learn a little bit more about the movie Shafted, coming right up here on Poor Man's Process. Background going here, of course.
I really like that.
Well, you know, and my dad's old leather jacket.
Nice.
Because a cat has certain obligations if he wants to remain
Anonymous.
Indeed. So it is a pleasure to see you. This is Tom Putnam, director of Shafted. I've already done a little intro here. Let people know who you are. And we've chatted on Facebook, but I have not seen you probably in 22 years.
That's right.
True.
Hey, man.
So
we're both a little older, a little grayer.
a little bit, a little rounder. Although, you know, the corona, you know, I'm blaming it on that. All this stuff happened just this year. So hope you're hanging in there and doing well. I see you've been staying busy, and we'll certainly talk about the stuff you've been working on. You're like a Detroit resident almost. You know, you could go hang out with my parents in West Bloomfield sometime. They'd love to see you.
That's right. You're an Oak Park guy, right?
I am an Oak Park guy, indeed. Born and bred. So
it's crazy, yeah. Somehow managed to do 3 features and umpteen commercials and other things in Detroit.
I saw, yeah, Insane Clown Posse and the fire department in Detroit, and we'll get into all that stuff. My main motivation for doing this is the fact that we recently discovered there's a guy on eBay who has 27 copies of Shafted sitting there that he has for sale. I don't think it's anyone we know. So I want people to, you know, get excited about this movie. I want to sell all 27 copies of.
Who's the white-ass mental patient who's a sex machine to all the chicks? Damn right. Who's the crazy dude that would risk his neck for the brother man? Can you dig it? Who's the hunky that won't cop out when his medication runs out? Right on. You see, this cat is one bad one.
Shut your mouth.
She's talking about Basinski.
After this comes
out.
Oh
my gosh, look at that. That's a collector's item. Maybe it's not if some guy has 27 copies. I kind of wondered if he started the auction like in 2002 and he's just been sitting up there this whole time.
Piecing it out. That's it. So why not, you know?
That was a weird one.
Yeah, I don't know how many DVDs they could have made. It was a deal you had with what, Hollywood Video or something?
Hollywood Video. I think they did something like 30,000 DVDs.
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
yeah, it was everywhere.
I thought they maybe made like 30. So
yeah, I know exactly.
No, awesome. All right. So we're talking about the movie Shafted. I've done a little intro on it, that it is basically a movie about an escaped mental patient, Stephen Basinski, played by Morgan Russler, who decides he is Black and a superhero, and runs around trying to solve a case with his partner in crime, Tokyo's toughest cop, who is actually a female sister of Tokyo's toughest cop, played by Haley Mann, who I tried to get on here and surprise us, but she never got the message. So sorry. Just imagine that would have happened and how much fun that would have been.
Okay.
See, Marlene knew the only way to beat Bob Suzuki was to never let the fat bastard know that he had already won. She would become her brother. Dress like him, talk like him, piss standing up like him. Only then could she track down Mike's killer and make him pay. With only a single clue to guide her, Marlene boarded the next flight to America. Her brother's gun in her pocket, his suit on her back, and revenge on her mind.
But anyway, why don't you just tell me the origins of it, or how you decided to do a movie like Shafted, what movies you were watching that made you think this would be something fun to do?
Yeah, I mean, it was, we were young, just out of film school. And I just was very into 70s cinema and blaxploitation films and old Sonny Chiba kung fu movies. And I was literally at a house party somewhere, and somebody pitched that idea, and I thought it was really funny. And we just sat down and tried to write the just craziest movie we could that had bits and pieces of everything we loved from Dawn of the Dead.
I was going to say, you decided to make all those movies at once.
Yes, which was, in hindsight, was a very bad idea because we had hardly any money. And
it was a bit ambitious.
Yeah, we definitely bit off more than we can chew.
Special effects, and I know you're saying, people do this all the time. Like, you hear interviews with songwriters, they're like, I never listen to my albums. It's like, I know.
Yeah,
I listen to my stuff all the time. Yeah.
That's a tough one to watch. I kind of feel like Shafted is like, you know, you have your child and you love it, but you also know he's not that smart. He's probably not going to college. He's going to be a greeter at Walmart. And that's kind of how Shafted is, I think.
Yep.
I have fond memories of it, but the last time I did watch it, I was kind of, number one, we bit off more than we could chew, which means that things didn't get done properly. And two, I mean, it sure feels like a movie made by a bunch of white guys in their early 20s.
Right. Which is all, you know, that's the charm of it, you know.
Sorta.
Yeah. You hope, at least.
It's definitely, I think parts of it are kind of tone deaf too.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, now looking back at it now.
Sure. And who'd we make this movie with? I know it's people still that you're working with today, Jeff.
All kinds of people. I mean, honestly.
Who was your main team?
It was me. It was written by myself, Jeff Malmberg, and Michael Harbour. A guy named Matt Rhodes executive produced it. And I mean, basically, other than me, the entire crew has gone on to win many awards. And
oh yeah, I don't know about that. You've done a lot of cool stuff.
Much greatness. No, I think I was definitely the weak link.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I looked you up, so I mean, you know,
I'm keeping busy. That's for sure.
Hey, I'm proud of you. I mean, that's one of the cool things is I maybe mixed 40 little indie features, at least parts of maybe 20 complete ones at the level of Shafted between maybe 95 and 2000. And so many of those people that did it, that's all they ever did. They scraped together, you know, 10 credit cards and $100,000 and went into debt and went bankrupt and then just went back to their day jobs or whatever. Yeah. I mean, you followed through and stuck with it. And I mean, you've been doing some great stuff. Some stuff I've actually seen. I had no idea that you were part of it. And
cool.
He did that one. So that was very cool.
Yeah, I just keep, I'm like Wall-E. I keep going no matter what. And
that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I've definitely learned that. So let's talk about you in Shafted.
Hey.
So
well, I'm not in Shafted. You're in Shafted, and your 88 Ford Escort.
Right on. The car chase is my favorite goddamn part. I hope we hit a fruit cart.
Hey.
Or speed down an alley full of trash, smash through a big pile of cardboard boxes, drive 2 wheels up a ramp, and pop a wheelie and flip over. Hey, hey. Or maybe even lose control, drive off the end of a dock into a river or the ocean.
Oh, my was my first car. I drove it 12 and a half years.
My mom had the Lynx, which was the Mercury version of it, and that was what I learned to drive on.
So you said 88.5. That's actually a 1988 Ford Escort, and which is a car so terrible they made an 88.5 to fix all the problems. But I had the one that didn't have all the problems fixed. It was like Gremlins had like taken every screw in the car and just loosened it like a half a turn. It was an awful car.
Ours had the worst transmission that I think has ever been installed in a motor vehicle. You would put it in drive, and I think some guy in the trunk would yell, "Go to drive," and then the engine would be like, "What?" You know, I mean, eventually, like it would get going. But
it's an absolutely ridiculous car.
Yeah. Talk about me. I mean, you know, I mixed all these indie films. I got out of it for a long time, and I've been in Atlanta for 6 years now. Not really doing any scripted stuff anymore. I mean, the whole scene has changed, and that's kind of why I kind of have a little bit of an obsession with these films that I did that, you know, didn't get the attention they deserve, or that people really put a lot of work into and kind of just got to a certain level and then just nothing. I did so many movies that just never were completed, period. You know, we shot them, they try to edit them, they could never get over that, you know, bar of, hey, you know, we just need a little bit more money to make a film print or to get it, you know, four-walled, or they just never got there, and I never even saw it. You know, you guys at least have the Shafted DVD. It keeps disappearing on my background here.
Yeah.
There it is, part of it.
It's there.
I mean, this was in a video store and you could get it. I mean, that was pretty cool.
So let's talk about that. This is such a weird story. Yeah, like, I mean, we made that movie. That's back in the day where you had to shoot on film and you had to release a movie on film. Oh my God. We did that movie for like $105,000, which was like everybody we knew. We got them to give us like $500 or $1,000, maxed out all their credit cards. Somehow it premiered at South by Southwest. And then we ended up releasing it with this company, The Asylum, who ended up doing like Sharknado and all those movies. So it fit in well there.
Son of Sharknado.
Yeah. So wait, hold the box up again. Here's why I think here's maybe the only reason it got distributed.
This is harder than it looks. I got to find the one spot where it doesn't disappear in my 70s background.
So the remake of Shaft was coming out.
There it is.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
And my suspicion is the only reason they even released the movie was because they got to make a box cover that looked exactly like the Shaft box cover, thinking people would rent it by mistake. Yeah.
Right. Rented by confusion.
Yeah. But you'd go into like every Hollywood Video, which was back in the day, a big video chain, and there'd be like 10 copies of it.
Right.
It was crazy.
Oh, yeah. Very, very cool. I mean, like I said, it actually came out. I mean, that had gone farther than most. But, so I was just thinking of when we shot it. I think the first scene, if I remember, was at the Martins.
Oh, shit. Stop the motherfucking cab!
Damn it, mister! Give me this suitcase!
Hey, you mothers, get your damn hands off him!
Huh?
The Martins. Local gang. I'll take care of this.
You look ridiculous! Hey, Steve! Doesn't he look ridiculous? I'll say, Steve, I'm ridiculous! I'll say, hey, where did you get those clothes anyway? The 70s?
Was that the first thing we shot?
Yeah, where he fights a gang of Steve Martin impersonators. Right. That's a great example. So we had written this. It was going to be like an homage to the Warriors, where he has this gang of Steve Martin impersonators, but we could only afford 2 Steve Martin impersonators. So it was like a guy in an alley with like a dude on either side. It was nuts.
I did a movie where they wanted this elite team of commando fighters, but we were in Tehachapi. So all they got were these like teenagers that were off school that day. So they're all wearing like high tops, and the director's like, these aren't elite commandos. They're not, where are their boots? You know?
It was an interesting time, right? Because you had to shoot and release on film, the cost of entry was higher. So there wasn't just like the massive number of independent films getting made every year. So you could make a movie like that, and just getting it finished was like a big deal. And you could try to, like, that movie got a theatrical release.
Yeah.
It played as a double feature with The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. I remember this, like in Seattle for a week.
Yeah.
But that was like great. Okay.
There you go. That was something back then.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you are a sound guy, and you're responsible for my most vivid memory from that whole film, which was
was it the one where I got mad? Because I remember that.
So we had this taxi driver parody thing with this guy driving a
You would have
taxi.
forgotten that.
Motherfucking shit, asshole, son of a bitch and cocksucker!
And we couldn't afford to tow the car, so I remember we ratchet strapped you and the cameraman and the DP Alex Vendler to the front of the car, and the driver's like driving it down the street with you guys just strapped with the equipment to the front of the car, and then he stopped the car too quickly, and you flew off, and we're just like, I'm done.
No. See, I think you're getting these mixed up. You strapped me to the hood of the Cadillac with the zombies.
So, my friends, now you see what happens to those who are foolish enough to dare to insult the great Lawrence St. Lawrence. Evil laugh. Finish them. Finish them. Finish them! Ah! Oh, the upholstery! Fools!
That I remember.
Oh, you weren't on the taxi? Somebody else fell off the taxi.
No. Nobody fell off. But I was on the hood of the Cadillac, holding on to the edge of the front edge of the hood, and we were driving. We weren't going that fast, and that was fine. No, what happened was I was in the back seat of the taxi with you, and my Nagra recorder with my, reel-to-reel tape recorder, this is what I remember, was on the little jump seat. They had these little like bar stools because the back seat was so big in that taxi. And so I was in the back seat. We were filming from the back seat into the front, and he stopped too fast without letting us know or whatever, and my machine just fell on the ground.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, I was inside. No, I wasn't physically hurt, but I just was really mad because my one machine that I made my living off of, I don't even know if it fell on the ground, it hit the front of the seat or whatever, but it was just the fact that, when you're driving with crew or whatever, it's a different thing. Yeah. And I've been through this before where, you just got to let people know what's going on, and you have to be cognizant of the fact that, hey, we're holding an expensive camera and recording equipment, and we got people back here. No, I just remember I got out of the cab and I was mad, because somebody
fell off. That car, I mean, I remember we shot that movie in 18 days, and it had 78 locations, 90 something speaking parts. And it was a 70s period film with special
including
effects,
TV's own
Gary Coleman.
Just once, say it for me, Gary.
Okay, yeah, it was a lot. I just remember every day was like a sprint to just get literally like, it was one of those movies where we'd be like, all right, we can do one take of this, and then we're out of film and out of time, so we would just like, you got what you got.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd forget that because it was probably an overreaction on my part.
Would you look at this shit?
Yes, you have torn your jacket.
You have any idea what one of these babies is worth?
I cannot imagine very much. Why any corner 5 and dime?
I don't know how they do things over there in Saigon.
Tokyo.
But here, a cat has got certain obligations, certain responsibilities if he wants to remain Superfly.
It'd be hard to even imagine now what you could do with Shafted today.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be making something else. I am making something else. It's yeah. I mean, I'm glad we did it. I learned a lot. I learned a lot.
Yeah,
I learned a lot on that.
It was funny. I was watching it, and the Piston Club, where our hero John Shat walks into, was next to the record plant, which was my first job in LA.
Yeah, it was next to the record plant.
We followed our first clue to the Piston Club, a strange and dangerous place where I was sure to encounter opponents that would both test my detectiveness and push my bad attitude to its very limits.
Watch out for pimps.
You, go inside and investigate while I search for a back entrance.
How am I supposed to spot this mother?
You cannot miss him. He is 6'5", oafish, dresses entirely in silver, wears a large floppy wig, and speaks considerably out of sync.
Damn, Bruce! That could be just about anybody.
there's a ton of really cool, inventive things in Shafted. And when seen in clips, I think it's going to look really good. The chase scene.
Jackass.
You know, where they're in New York one second and they're in Tokyo the next minute, and all the cool, stuff that they shot downtown with the stop motion, with him walking around and giving the bus the finger.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those movies, right, where we were just like, we made a list of everything we wanted to try, and we tried all of it. And
yeah. Where did the telekinesis come from?
Maybe from Carrie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I can't quite remember.
With the gun on the Santa Monica roller coaster.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we got kicked off the Santa Monica Pier. I mean, I guess one of the things I did learn on that movie was to sometimes shoot first and ask questions later. I mean, there's so much stuff on that movie that, had we thought about it too much, we probably wouldn't have done it, just in terms of places we went and running out onto the Santa Monica Pier with a bunch of people dressed in like 70s gear and guns and all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
Maybe kind of stupid, maybe really stupid. I wouldn't do it now, but
you meant well.
Yeah, and it was just a good lesson in sort of not asking for permission all the time, or else nothing would ever get done.
So, if it isn't my old friend, Mike Fujiyama, Tokyo's toughest cop. That's right, Tofu Head. I'm in perfect sync. You see, my father was Japanese Yakuza, but my mother was as British as bad television, inbreeding, and warm beer. Sometimes it just happens that way. You fool. I bet you left your gun on the hotel dresser. How unfortunate you don't have your sister's strange oriental powers of telekinesis.
Allow me to introduce you to my brand of justice.
We shot at Lacey Street Studios, the home of zero low-budget filmmaking for the last, who knows, 40 years now. I think it's still open, right? They're still there doing stuff.
Oh, man. I'm happy to say that I have not been there in a long time, so I'm not sure. We shot at this hospital that like every horror movie ever has shot at that's closed now.
Yeah. Yeah, I looked. I think Lacey Street is still doing business. I remember back in the day that somebody said, it's probably not true, that Lacey Street was, deemed, condemned for regular people, but okay for film crews.
I would believe it. Yeah, it was definitely like, I think there was so many layers of paint on each of the walls there. That's all that was holding it together.
Lead paint, no doubt.
Yeah, seriously.
I must have shot at least 100 days there. I mean, we did a couple features there and Shafted, and just constantly back and forth to that place. And it had a lot of different areas and different looks. And it's actually, I don't know if you know this, but that police set is from Cagney and Lacey.
I know
that. And Lacey, okay. And Lacey was named after Lacey Street. And I believe that standing police set is still there. We didn't even use the police set.
We used a little bit of it, I think. Yeah.
Did we?
They had this weird deal where you would pay them a flat fee, I think, and then just like run around and shoot stuff, but there'd be like 5 other movies shooting there. So you wouldn't get to the set you wanted early enough, and some other movie would be there and you'd get in an argument with them. It was nuts. It was like a factory for low budget movies.
Right. So I pulled in the parking lot one day and I look, and there's a short, very familiar looking security guard, and I'm kind of looking, and I come in, and then I hear you guys run in and you say,
yeah, it was Gary Coleman. He was working as a security guard there. And
that was kind of like a known thing at the time that he had left the industry. I think it was even on the news that they had shown him. So I wasn't totally shocked, because I think I was aware that he was working security. It's just he was working security when we were shooting our movie. So how did we get him in Shafted?
One of the producers just went up to him and offered him $50 to come in on his lunch break and shoot a scene, and sure enough, he's in there.
Yep.
I think we wanted him to say, "What you talking about, Willis?" And it turns out he will only say that if the actual Todd Bridges is there. So he had to say the name of a different character in the movie.
And now, TV's own Gary Coleman. Former child actor, known the world over for his cheeky innocence and childlike features, built out of millions in residuals by his parents, and now compelled to work as a security guard in order to pay the rent. Just once. Say it for me, Gary.
What are you talking about, Lawrence?
What you talking about, Gary? Next, we have a tree.
I mean, he was a good sport about it. I just remember he walked in and the crew was just like, "What's happening? How did this shoot get impossibly more insane?"
Yeah, it's funny. I watched the director commentary on the DVD. I don't know if I've ever even
There's director commentary?
Oh yeah. That's where I learned a bunch of this stuff.
Wow.
One of the things you said was, you were hoping to pay off your student loans by 2007. I wonder if that ever happened.
That did not happen. I paid him off a couple years ago.
There you go.
It took a long time.
Yeah. No, Morgan's in it, and yeah, absolutely. There's a whole running commentary track. I didn't hear the whole thing, but I've looked through some of the scenes, and
oh man, it's all kind of a blur.
Yeah. But you're, very complimentary to Gary Coleman, and, thankful that he did this, whatever. What I remember is he just said, "I won't say that line."
Yeah.
I don't say that anymore. I moved on in my life and I don't say it anymore. And then I remember he said, "I'll say it one time." So I got everything all set, and my boom operator, I showed him where to put the mic, and you don't move. And then we rolled, and that was it. And he walked off, and then we had him for 30 seconds.
But that $50, he seemed happy about it.
That 30 seconds shows up like 8 times in the movie.
No, it doesn't. Come on.
It's at the end, and it's like 2 or 3 times in that scene or whatever.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Oh, that was smart. I was smart. Whoever came up, the editor was smart. Whoever came up with that idea.
I think we were rolling before we even, said action. So we got some stuff.
Oh, we got some bonus, Gary Coleman. Yeah.
I think at the end we got something that said where he said, "I don't say that thing anymore," or whatever. I think it's in there.
Okay, but, I totally believe you. I just can't remember. I haven't seen it in like 20 years.
"108 hours of work, and still I cannot sleep. Damn! Days go on and on. They do not end. All my life needed was a sense of some place to go."
Taxi! And your ass better not drive away, neither.
I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed by the sound. You know, I don't know if you guys had to do a ton of work. I don't know if it's all recreated in the studio, but it really sounds pretty decent. I mean, considering the fact that we had to dub in one character's lines who was supposed to show up in the movie out of sync, and that was dubbed over by a man, you know, who was actually a woman. That stuff was, you know, that was actually pretty challenging for me. I'm sure at the time, I don't know if I grasped the whole complexity of the fact that there's no way they could overlap, because you were never going to use Haley's actual production dialogue. Even if she was saying her lines, it couldn't be in any of the movie because all that stuff had to be replaced by another guy.
I have just arrived in this strange and unfamiliar land and have no place to stay. Perhaps you could lend me your accommodations for the evening.
Hell no! You can't just ask a brother to bring a strange motherfucker like you back to his pad like that.
Then would it be possible to direct me to the nearest motor lodge?
You know, I can fix that.
How? Bosh muy, comrade. Das vidanyo. Lo siento, señor, porque no tengo... Ay! And this time?
Say that again.
And this time?
Not bad. Not bad.
So I'm not sure how we worked around that. And I think I remember she was supposed to be out of sync for the whole movie, and then you decided, no, she's got to get in sync really fast.
It was I was working. I remember at the time I was working at a place called Saban Entertainment doing they did the Power Rangers, and I was working in post production.
I worked on the Power Rangers. Those were my favorite gigs.
Yeah, everybody worked on that show, right? And and basically I'd been working in post production there, and we did all the post sound for free with just like people that I was friends with there. So it took months and months to do it, but like the Foley for the movie, a guy named Bob Rutledge did, who has an Oscar for Back to the Future. He did the Foley on Star Wars. And like we had like this amazing post sound for this tiny movie that got shot in 2 weeks.
It really does sound good. I mean, I always catch little things where, all right, they used the production sound and that's all I had. And that wasn't that great or whatever, but I really didn't hear, you know, hardly anything in there that didn't sound like, all right, it was, you know, right where it was supposed to be. Back then, I don't even know if I had radio mics. I mean, we probably did the whole movie with a Nagra and a boom. Maybe I had a couple wires by then, but
I would be surprised if we had wireless on that. I mean, we shot the movie on like a CP16.
Yeah,
which is literally like the worst camera in the world. It's like a iron shoebox, and we had one lens.
Right, with free film from Kodak that then went out of print or whatever. You couldn't get anymore.
They had this thing where they had this special, if you're making your first feature, you can get this film at this massive discount. We thought we'd won the lottery. And then we found out after we started developing it, it's because it was like years past its expiration date. So everything came back super grainy and weird looking, but.
Which is perfect for this movie, you know?
Yeah, totally.
It totally works, you know? It looks like it was shot in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, it was basically shot with equipment that you would have shot it with in the 70s. So
right,
cool,
exactly. And my Nagra recorder was 1975. I remember that.
Yeah, so, I kind of miss film and Nagras and all that stuff.
And that's like
dog just appeared behind you.
Yeah, that's Diego. He's, you know,
awesome.
He's in my 70s pad, and you know, he's kind of gonna float in and out of the background here, but.
Cool.
All right, so hey, I don't want to, you know, take up your whole day or whatever, but let's talk about what you've been doing since. Marwin Call, which I saw was very cool, and
yeah, that's Jeff Malmberg's baby. Frankly, I was like lucky to be there. It was just,
I mean, it became a feature and everything else.
Yeah, Bob Zemeckis remade it as a good feature.
Yeah,
that's such a like special movie.
Was he the first guy to discover this whole, you know, world that this guy had created and do a piece on them? Or
if you see the documentary, it gets into that. There's a guy who had a art magazine called Esopus who would see Mark walking down the road with his little Jeep to put road wear on it. So he's the person that I think, if you want to say someone discovered Mark, discovered him from the art world. And then Jeff, I think, read that article and went out to make a film about him. That's such a good movie.
Yeah, I know. I saw it when it came out. Like I said, I had no idea that all these people I had worked with were involved in it. And so tell us about Burn and what's going on with that. I know you've been working on
that,
recently.
After Shafted, it was I kind of took a step back. It was hard. I mean, it was not a great experience, and so I went back to making short films and did a couple short films that like played hundreds of film festivals. One played at a competition at Cannes, one won Slamdance, another one was at Sundance, and just sort of like kind of took a step back and wanted to figure out like, what do I want to say? Like, what do I want to be as a filmmaker? And for a long time, that was documentaries, and I love documentaries. So did a movie up in Alaska called Red, White, Black, and Blue about a secret Japanese invasion of the US during World War II that played on PBS. That was a super amazing experience. And then worked on Marwen Call with Jeff, and a lot of the people who were tangentially involved with Shafted, and then did a documentary about the Detroit Fire Department called Burn, where my co-director Brenna and I spent, oh my gosh, like 14 months embedded with the busiest firehouse in the country, which is also in the most dangerous zip code in the country, and the worst funded fire department. And that was amazing because it was like making a war movie. We got to know those guys, and we're in and out of burning buildings every day, and we're there with them during some pretty insane, life-changing moments. And actually I just got back from Detroit on my last shoot for the follow-up to that we're hoping to have out in time for Christmas. So
I will look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, that was a big one. And finishing up a documentary we've been making with Insane Clown Posse, which is
you guys drank a lot of Faygo, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I could tell you which flavors of Faygo will stain your clothes and which won't. Went on tour with them. Basically what happened was, if you know ICP, you do because you're
I just know what it is. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So they and all 1 million of their fans got declared a gang by the FBI. So with the backing of the ACLU, the band has been suing the FBI because it turns out there's no criteria for what makes a gang. Somebody just arbitrarily decides it. And once you're on the gang list, nobody's ever been taken off. So it's become this sort of bellwether case for First Amendment rights in America.
I just want to see all those guys in their makeup show up in court. You know,
you'll see it in the movie. They don't take the makeup off when they're out in public. So that's been 7 years. We're finishing that up right now. Just finished the last shoot for that, and just did another fiction film called The Dark Divide, starring David Cross and Deborah Messing. That's where this background's from, because normally I'm doing interviews for that.
Gotcha.
We shot it up in Oregon and Washington. It's based on a beloved book by a guy named Robert Pyle, who's one of America's foremost nature writers. So it's kind of like Never Cry Wolf, Jack London sort of movie. But if you can imagine David Cross in the middle of that.
Yep.
And that's coming out September 18th.
Very nice.
I sound so busy.
You look busy. You look on, IMDb or whatever. It's like, look at all the stuff this guy's done,
I like to do a lot of things, a lot of interests.
Yeah. Yeah. And it all started.
It all started with
a little movie
called Shafted.
Butterfly. 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 Butterfly.
Now you are going to have to learn to open up to me.